Most buyers think closing takes 2 weeks. In Alabama, that number will surprise you. Hey, it's David Knapp with Stillwater's Realty Group at Keller Williams, Auburn, Opelika. One of the questions I get all the time is how long does closing actually take? And the honest answer is this: it depends. But that's not a helpful answer in and of itself. So let me give you the real answer. In Alabama, a normal conventional loan closes usually around 20 to 30 days. A cash deal can sometimes close in 7 to 14 days. FHA, VA, USDA loans can easily push closer to 45 days and sometimes even 60 days, all depending on the situation. So when someone says, can we close in 30 days? You need to understand that's a target. It's not necessarily a guarantee. There are a lot of moving parts between getting contracts signed and actually sitting down at the closing table. And the clock doesn't really start right when you make the offer. The clock starts when both sides have signed and you have a fully completed contract. Everything before that, the offer, negotiations, the back and forth, the signatures, that's all warm up. Once the contract is fully signed, then the real timeline starts. And in Alabama, we are an attorney closing state, which means a licensed Alabama real estate attorney is going to be involved in the closing. That adds another layer to the process. You are not just coordinating the buyer, seller, lender, and agents, you're also coordinating the title work, attorney availability, loan underwriting, inspections, appraisals, repairs, and whatever everyone else needs along the way. What actually controls the timeline? The first thing is the loan type. If you're looking at using a conventional loan, 30 days is a pretty normal window. FHA, VA, usually plan for 45. Although with the right lender and the right team, we can make 30 happen under most circumstances. If you are a VA buyer relocating to Fort Mitchell, Russell County, Lee County, Auburn, Opelika, and around this area, I would recommend planning on a little bit of breathing room there. VA appraisals can take time. PCS timelines can add pressure. So having the right strategy, you want to account for real life deadlines and know the lender's calendar as well. Of course, if you're buying cash, you can move a lot faster. I've seen cash investor deals close in like 7 to 10 days, usually between that 10-day to 2-week time frame though. Title has to be clean, the attorneys has to be available. Even with cash though, you do need that title work, right? So you still need a closing attorney, you still are moving on someone else's schedule. Cash does remove the lender from the equation, but it doesn't remove all possibility for delay. The second thing that drives the timeline on most deals is the appraisal. That's a big one. The lender orders the appraisal. The buyer does not control the appraisal's calendar. The agent doesn't control the appraisal's calendar. And in smaller like markets, Valley, Seale, Smith Station, surrounding rural areas, there aren't necessarily appraisals lined up around the block to take those appraisals. So that can add some delay. Sometimes the appraisal might come back low than purchase price. If that happens, then now you've got a whole nother negotiating time, right? Does the seller drop the price? Does the buyer bring money? Do both sides kind of meet in the middle? What if the deal falls apart, right? So these are issues that can certainly add to the timeline and potentially kill a deal. The third thing that can cause additional time would be the inspection, right? In Alabama, an inspection period is typically around 10 to 14 days. You can have shorter, you can have longer, depends on the contract. But what most buyers don't necessarily realize is this: the inspection itself is not always what slows it down. It might be the repair negotiations after the inspection. The buyer gets the report, the buyer gets nervous, the buyer asks for repairs, the seller pushes back. Now we're continuing to negotiate in that process, and depending on where we end up, what needs fixed, whether there's concessions in lieu of repairs, and then the lender, if they find out about the repairs, all these things can add time to that close window. All right, so it may not always be because the house is bad. Sometimes it's because expectations were not set correctly up front. The sellers, if you want to move fast, prepare your home before you list. Don't wait until the inspection report comes back to find out that your crawl space has issues, your HVAC needs servicing, your outlets are wrong, your roof has a problem that you kind of knew about, right? Handle those before you go live. That protects your timeline. Okay, the fourth thing is title. Before you can close, the attorney has to clear title. That means they are looking at deeds, history, liens, easements, mortgages, judgments, ownership issues, and anything else that could affect whether the seller can legally transfer the property. On a normal house and a normal subdivision, title may be pretty straightforward, but on older homes, inherited property, rural land, large acreage, farms, properties that have passed around within the family, title can get complicated, and a cloud on title can delay closing significantly. Sometimes it's simple, sometimes it's not. I have a deal right now where we're over 3 months in because of a title issue. Not everything was disclosed or communicated up front, and it has made the process very uncomfortable for the buyer. Thankfully, we've gotten some headway, and we're working on getting it resolved, and Lord willing, we will close next month. Had another one extend long due to a title issue recently, but we closed that last month. Either way, title has to be resolved before closing. Okay, number 5, lender underwriting. This is where a lot of we're on track deals can suddenly hit a wall. The buyer thinks everything is fine. The agent thinks everything is fine. The lender says, we just need one more thing. Then that one more thing turns into updated bank statements, another pay stub, a letter of explanation, proof of funds, a last minute credit issue, or some document nobody expected. And here's the part buyers need to hear. The number one controllable reason closings get delayed is slow response time. If your lender asks for a document, send it quickly. Don't wait 3 days. Don't say, I'll get to it this weekend. Every day you sit on a lender request can become a delay. It can become a day added to your closing timeline. So if you want to close on time, be organized before you go under contract. Have your W-2s, tax returns, bank statements, pay stubs, and any other financial documents ready. Put them in a folder. Be ready to send them the same day. If you have them all in one place, you can just keep sending them over and over again. The buyers who close on time are usually not perfect buyers with perfect lives. They just respond quickly. Now, let's get to some real world timelines in this market. A cash investor in Opelika or Phenix City or Auburn right now close 10 to 21 days if title's clean and the attorney has room on the calendar. A conventional first-time home buyer in Auburn or Opelika might look at 30 to 40 days. 30 days is possible, but everybody needs to be locked in from day one. A VA or military relocation buyer in Fort Mitchell corridor or Russell County, I would plan on 35 to 45 days just to be safe. Doesn't mean we can't close faster than that, but it's better to plan realistically and beat the timeline than promise something tight and miss it. And if you're buying multifamily investment property or commercial, just be prepared. Opelika, Phenix City, Columbus, doesn't matter. Auburn, the timeline can vary tremendously. Commercial financing and investment deals operate on different clocks than simple residential purchases. I've had some last for years, trust me. So the big point is this: the buyers and sellers who close on time are usually the one who understood the timeline before they were ever under contract, not the ones who try to figure it out halfway. Now, let's talk about what you actually can control. You can control who your lender is. I wouldn't just choose whoever's convenient. Ask them about their systems. Ask them about how they communicate. Ask them about their average clear to close timelines. Ask them how often they update the agents, the buyers, the closing attorney. You want to find out whether you are working with a lender who communicates through the process or one who goes quiet until there's a problem. You can also control your responsiveness. If somebody asks for a document, send it. If your agent needs a signature, sign it. If the attorney needs information, get it to them. Closings don't usually fall apart because of one giant dramatic thing. A lot of times they get delayed because 5 little things were handled slowly. Sellers can also control preparation. If you know the house has issues, deal with them before you list. Service the HVAC, check the roof, look at the crawl space, fix the obvious stuff. Do not let inspection period become a surprise party. But here's what you cannot control. You can't control the appraisal's schedule. You can't control the appraisal value. You can't control title issues that already exist in the chain of ownership. You can't control underwriting decisions. You can't control attorney availability. And you can't control whether the other side responds quickly. So, the closing date in your contract, it's a target. It's not a guarantee. The short answer is this: if everybody does their job and stays responsive, you have a very good chance of closing on time. If one party goes dark, a document comes back wrong, the appraisal runs long, or title has an issue, that timeline can move. That is why having the right people around you matters. A good agent is not just opening doors and putting out a yard sign. A good agent is tracking deadlines, calling the lender, checking with the attorney, staying ahead of the inspection period, following up when things are due, and making sure everybody knows what is happening. That is a strategy layer most people don't see. Protecting the closing timeline is active work. It's not passive hope. So, after 143 and counting career transactions across Opelika, Auburn, Phenix City, Columbus, Fort Mitchell, Valley, and surrounding areas, I can tell you this: most closing problems, they don't come out of nowhere. There usually are signs, and a good agent is paying attention to those signs before they turn into a crisis. So if you're buying or selling in Alabama, here's what I would plan for. Cash, maybe 7 days, absolutely perfect, to 3 weeks. Conventional loan, 25 to 35 days. FHA, VA, USDA, 35 to 45 days. And if the property is rural, has title complications, appraisals can take longer, lender needs extra documents, build in more room. It's not that closing faster is impossible, but it is very hard to force a timeline when there's multiple people, multiple systems involved that you can't control. So I wouldn't ask how fast can we close. I would ask what needs to happen for us to close on time. That's a much better question. If you have questions about closing, about the process here in Alabama or anywhere around West Georgia, East Alabama area, Auburn, Opelika, reach out. And if you want me to help through your specific situation, drop closing in the comments or send me a message. I would love to talk you through that timeline and what that actually looks like based on your loan type, your market, your property type, and what you are trying to do. Have a blessed day.